Have you ever felt at the end of your workday completely frazzled, like you did a million things, but yet at the same time you feel like you accomplished nothing? Maybe your phone was going off all day. You're switching between emails, social media, answering your Slack messages. I want to share with you a method that has changed the game for Steven and I when it comes to working that allows you to be kind to your mind, plan in advance, and actually get more work done in less time. About a year ago, Steven and really the whole Rainmaker team really dove deep into what does it look like to work well, to dive deep into what we call deep work, getting work done efficiently, where you're not just like dinkering around on your computer, getting distracted by kids running in or cell phone ringing or your Slack notification going off. We really realized that the way that we were working and structuring teams wasn't actually very productive, and it made things harder for us as CEOs, but also our team to get things done. And so today we're going to be talking about something called deep work. And there's actually a book that has been done all about this. We got trained on this and our team trained on it. And I think it's something that any entrepreneur in any stage can really learn to develop. And I think you'll find that you'll get tasks done quicker. You'll be able to really dream and get into a state of flow while you're working and have better structure to your work week, which will impact your family life as well. So deep work, I love this blurb. It's from the book Deep Work. And deep work is really a superpower in our increasingly competitive 21st century economy. Most people have lost the ability to go deep, spending their days instead in a frantic blur of email and social media, not even realizing that there is a better way. And so today, Steven and I are going to talk to you about this system, how we've implemented it in our lives and in our business. And it's really allowed us to set the distractions aside and really understand how we can serve our customers best, our team best, and be kind to our mind, which then will be kind to our family and create this ripple effect in that work-life interaction.
All right, so this is about to change the game for you because it changed the game for us. Like literally, we did this, our team does this, and we're able to be so much more effective, productive, less distracted, and in turn, be more present with our family. There's nothing worse like having all these goals for the day, but then being super distracted and then feeling depressed, like, I didn't get all those things
Yes.
done. Right. And then like you want to spend time with your kids, but then you're thinking about the business and then you're staying up late. Like if you're in that cycle, we have some freedom. Okay. So to set this topic up, we need to re-hit something we've hit a handful of times on this podcast. And it's the thing called switching cost. They've done studies on this. There's a cost to switching brain modalities when you're doing taxes and then you hop on your phone, you're shooting a creative TikTok video and then your kid runs in and they want to talk about school and this thing going on in school. And now you're in mothering, nurturing mode. These are all different ways your brain is being used. And even though those are like instant switches, right? Your kid runs in, now you're with them instantly. Your brain can take 15 to 45 minutes to actually transition over to that other way of thinking. And if you're feeling frazzled at the end of the day, it's not because you did a lot, it's because you switched them. And so we've talked about this extensively. We have a podcast on creating a dream week that's going to reduce your switching costs. But we want to go deeper on this topic called deep work, because deep work is one of those ways that you can really reduce the switching cost by engineering this into your week. And recently I was just on a call with our mastermind students, really encouraging them to do this, even if it's just like, hey, I have a learning day and I have an implementation day, right? And just having these blocks, even if it's just a 2-hour block in your calendar twice a week to really move the needle in your business or what you're putting your hand to. This concept of deep work, working towards deep work, is really going to help you out. So all this comes from a book called Deep Work by Cal Newport, which to be honest, we have not read, but we did have a business consultant come train us on this topic. And I know he sourced the material from there. So if you want to go deeper, I'm not recommending the book, but you could go read it.
Recommending it.
I've never read it,
Yeah.
Okay. So hold on. It's got, okay.
I'm sure the book's great. We just never read it.
Yeah. So if you want to read the book, I mean, it's got a lot of positive reviews. I'm not one of them because I haven't read it, but I'm sure it's awesome. It's probably on my wish list. Okay. But this, we're just going to simplify it for you. Just imagine this is like just
the TED Talk.
The what do you call that? Cliff Note. Okay. This is like the Cliff Notes version. So there are 3 main work modalities There's shallow work, there's focused work, and there's deep work. Now, the thing that really helped me remember these and kind of like, what are these things? Is kind of the atmosphere that these work modalities feel like. Okay. Shallow work is kind of like, you could imagine it like front of office work. Okay. It's like the receptionist. It's very reactionary. Someone walks in, yeah, how can I help you? It's like they're just always available, very reactionary. And a lot of entrepreneurs live there, to be honest. Like they're like in their email reacting, they're in social media reacting. And there's a lot of reactionary, just constant switching. If you had to put a time kind of requirement on this type of work, it's going to be like an hour or less. It's nooks and cranny work. It's like, hey, it's sending that email, you know, while the kid's in the tub, you know, like that is like shallow work. And some shallow work is really needed in the business, but we want to really level up in our businesses and have other team members that really handle the reactionary, so we can start moving more into focused work and deep work.
So the next work modality is called focused work. And if you would imagine yourself going to a coffee shop, this is kind of like coffee shop work. So coffee shop, you can put headphones on, you can go in a little corner, you can drink your cup of coffee. You are still getting a good amount of work done, but there are distractions around you. You might run into a friend at the coffee shop. You might see a dog go by, or you might spill your coffee, have to get up and go get more. Like that's kind of the atmosphere that you set for focused work. Now imagine this is usually like 1 to 2 hour window block. So you can get a lot done in 1 to 2 hours, especially as moms. We have so many entrepreneurs in this group. Like you might only have an hour to 2 hours a day or whatever in your schedule to get things done. You can get a lot done, but it's just not quite in that deep mode that we want to encourage you to get in. So that was focused work.
Yeah. And I'd say, to be honest, I get probably 2 deep works. We'll tell you what that is, like a week. Right now, Chelsey, you're mostly living in the focus work zone. And there's nothing wrong with the focus work. The focus work is way better than the shallow work because you're being productive, but yeah, you're limited still in time. It's like 1 to 2 hours. You can get fairly deep, but it's not as deep as a deep work session. So that leads us to our third work modality. This is like the ultimate goal. Okay. So this is deep work. And you can imagine this one like cabin in the woods.
Ooh,
okay.
nice.
Cabin in the woods, no distractions. Like this is the atmosphere you're creating around a deep work session. Deep work sessions are typically 3 to 4 hours or more. But 4 hours is kind of like the recommended time frame, because after about that time, you like need a break, right? You need a break. 4 hours is a lot of time to work on one thing, but this is really powerful. I feel like sometimes we make these huge goals, like for our company even. And it's like, wow, that's like such a big goal, right? It's going to take me like 3 months. But really, if you start breaking down into deep work sessions, it's like, that's just 2 deep work sessions. You know, it actually makes it like more doable because you're not spreading it out in nooks and crannies of your life. You're setting the stage and doing deep work on that thing. And so I want to talk a little bit about deep work because I have been really integrating this into my schedule. Wednesdays and Fridays, I have block for deep work. Occasionally I'll have a block on Mondays for like more of a focus work / deep work, depending on how much time I have. But I protect this time on my calendar like religiously. Okay. Because I know when I have deep work available, I am not just doing like the non-impact. I'm not just doing the reactionary stuff that keeps me busy. I'm not just being active in the business. I'm being productive in the business. I'm being very effective. And so I have had amazing deep work sessions. I've also had total flops of deep work sessions. I want to share a little bit out of like my mistakes because I don't know. I have not been diagnosed, but I have a sense that I have ADHD. And just when I hear other people talking about this, I'm just like, that sounds like me. Okay. So if I don't set myself up for success for a deep work session, it will get derailed and I will like literally do nothing the entire time. You know, like I'll just goof off in the business, like thinking like I'm being productive, but honestly, I'm just procrastinating. So if I'm sounding familiar to you, this will really help you. Okay. So one of the things that has helped me so much with deep work. So the first thing is scheduling it in. I already mentioned that. But like putting it in your calendar, like we live whole lifestyles. We are parents. We got young boys. I'm taking them to school. I'm picking them up. Like there's like things that we have integrated in our lives, but we scheduled this in advance. Okay. So do what you need to do to schedule this in. We have episodes on this podcast that talk about how you can buy back your time and how you can, you know, maybe trade with a friend. So like they watch the kids and then, you know, you watch their kids and you open up time in your calendar to schedule this in every single week.
Yeah.
And then once it's scheduled, what I have found super effective for me is never go into a deep work session unprepared. So I'm going to say it again, never go into a deep work session unprepared. When I did this last Wednesday, you guys, I went into a deep work session on Wednesday. I had like 3 things I could have done. I did none of those 3 things. I did some other random project. I was like, this is a great idea. And I spent my entire day doing that. And it wasn't the things I actually needed to be doing. And so I never now, this again, I'm growing in this, but my weeks that go really well, it's because I sat down on Monday, or honestly, I do this Sunday night. It takes about 15 minutes and I look at my week, and I actually, in my calendar, I have a block that says deep work. And I just edit the title of that calendar event and I put in what I'm going to do during that deep work session on Sunday night. So I know going into the week, like that's what I'm putting my effort into on this Wednesday. And this is what I'm putting my effort into on that Friday. Okay. Now, the second thing on that being prepared is preparing all the atmosphere. Okay. If you're going to go, again, the work modalities, we're not saying you actually have to go to a cabin. You're just trying to create that atmosphere. So maybe you have a door hanger on your door that's like, I'm in focus mode. Please do not disturb. Maybe you have all your snacks ready to go, right? So you don't have to go down to the kitchen and get stuff. Maybe you have like, for me, I have like 7 drinks on my desk at all time, right? So I got the LaCroix, and I got the waters, and I got the, electrolytes. Like I have everything. I don't want to like have to like get up or be distracted. As entrepreneurs and parents, convenience is key. But that doesn't mean you should have to sacrifice quality. For years, we nerded out on coffee, trying to get the highest quality, but that takes a lot of time, weighing the beans, getting the right grind, getting your water to the perfect temperature. And so when we had kids, we kind of shifted to the pod system, right? And it was a major downgrade. That was until we found X Bloom.
X Bloom works with the best roasters around the country, and their machine truly brings the specialty coffee shop experience to your home. If you love a good pour over, I highly recommend you check this out. You can elevate your coffee drinking experience while keeping up with your kids. If you're ready to transform your mornings, head to rainmakerfamily.com/deals to get started. That's rainmakerfamily.com/deals.
So I have actually learned that like I have a system, like we're all about systems and SOPs, standard operating procedures. This is basically a playbook, right? And so I've developed a system of how I focus, and I actually have it on my desk. If you're watching on YouTube, I have it right here. And it literally says I have this little tab that says focus, because in my notebook, I can just flip to that thing and I'll just literally read this to you, because it's just silly that I have to do this. But like, if I do this, I will get into deep work. Okay. Deep work. So it says, number 1, headphones on, and ADHD playlist on YouTube. Okay. I just search like ADHD music, and there's like, just, I don't know, it's just like, ding, boom, ding, boom. And it's just like, I don't know, it like helps me focus. I like that. Okay. Number 2, snacks plus water/drink. Okay. Number 3, mic moved out of peripheral. I don't know. This is really weird, but this mic right here, like it just lives here all the time. But if I'm trying to work and this thing is just in my peripheral vision, it like makes me angry. Like, I don't know. I'm like, get this thing out of here. Like, I just want to focus. I think that's an ADHD thing too. It's like I got to hyper focus, and this thing will literally distract me. So I have to push this out of the way. Like otherwise I get 30 minutes in and I'm like really mad about this thing. And I like then I'm out of the focus zone. Okay. Number 4, task outlined in Monday with subtasks. So we use Monday, which is a project management system. Trello, ClickUp. There's a million of these things. You could just use a Google Doc or your calendar. But not only do I have like the thing that I'm going to be working on, but I have it subdivided into sub things. Okay. So here's the big task, but here's the little things that it takes. And when you just start thinking about the big task, you can start chunking it down. And that really helps go, okay, because sometimes these big tasks, like they're so big, they're overwhelming and you procrastinate. But if you're just like, oh, the first thing is log into this website. And you're like, okay, now I'm in momentum. You've probably heard this said, like, sometimes the best way to brush your teeth is just say, I'm going to brush one tooth, right? Or sometimes the best way to start yoga is just be like, I'm going to do 5 minutes a day. You start with a micro win, it gets you in momentum. And then once you're momentum, it's easier to continue the momentum. Okay. Number 5, materials collected in Monday. Okay. So what I hate, and I've done this many times, is getting into a deep work session, right? I have the task, but then I spend 30 to 45 minutes just preparing all the materials. Oh, where was that document? Oh, like what was the login for this thing? Oh, I forgot my password for this thing. And you're like, you're just like spending all this effort, like just getting ready, And so I like, if I have a deep work on my calendar on Wednesday, I'm going to use some time during Monday and Tuesday to collect the materials. Like I have everything I need to really get into that work really quickly. Okay, number 6, I need 1 hour plus free in the calendar. Now, I know I said deep work is 4 hours. Typically, for me, it's going to be between 2 and 4, but I'll never this is my focus checklist. I also use this for focus time, and I would never try to do this if I don't have an hour free. If I have something in my calendar that is just even looming on the calendar later in the day, I will sometimes just procrastinate just leading up to that thing, because it's just always kind of taunting me that I have this thing later in the day. So again, this is an ADHD thing, but if you have that as well, where if you have an appointment later in the day, you just can't do anything leading up to it, just schedule those things in the morning. I get meetings done out of the way, and then I go into deep work right after that. And then the last 2, I have a timer set if I have a hard cut. So if I'm really going to get into deep work or focus mode, I will lose all concept of reality and time. So if Chelsey texts me, anything like that, I am so in the zone sometimes that I lose track of time. So if I have a hard cut and I know I'm supposed to pick up Kai from school, I have a visual timer on my desk. I'll show it right here, that I can twist this little thing, and it shows me just visually how much time I have left. That really helps me. And I set alarms a lot, because if I don't, I'll forget that time exists and I'll just work forever. So that's very helpful. And then lastly, I mute all the stuff. Okay. So I quit my email. We use Slack. So I put a Slack status deep work session. I mute notifications. I quit the calendar. I put my phone out of sight. It's still on. If someone called me, if Chelsey called me, it'd probably go through. But I have I have a robo blocker on my phone that just blocks all unknown calls. So again, I'm just imagining myself in a cabin. I'm going to do this deep work. I don't want to be interrupted and just easily pulled out of it. And so this is clearly communicated to team and all those things. And our whole team knows to do the same thing. They don't follow this exact checklist. This is for me, what works for me, but they do what works for them. But they do set Slack statuses. So we know, hey, she's in a deep work session. I'm not going to go hit her up for something. I'll schedule that for later. And so I hope that's helpful to kind of hear what really has helped me. Preparing is huge. So when you go into these deep work sessions, you're ready, you know what you're doing, you're fully prepared, you got all the materials, time's blocked off, you set the atmosphere, get into these deep work mode. It's so powerful.
And I think the more entrepreneurs I talk to that have huge, busy schedules, lots of kids going a million different places, they are really all about theming your days, which is something Steve and I talk about, and that is really important with deep work, focused work, and even that shallow work. Know what days in your calendar that you are performing and doing those certain modalities. It's really, really important. I know what days I'm doing what, so I can mentally prepare, but then I can also, in my binder, I just have a notepad that I write everything down with. And so for instance, tomorrow is a Wednesday for me. That day for me is usually more focused / deep work. I kind of go in between those. And I will plan after this podcast interview, before I head downstairs with the boys and go to our workout, I will sit down, I'll look at my calendar, and I'll write out what I'm going to do tomorrow. Because same thing like Steven, if I don't have a plan, I'll just I'll just open all notifications, email, text messages, Instagram, Slack, and I'll just find something to fill that time instead of being super hyper productive. And so I've seen that happen with moms who are working totally full-time entrepreneurship in your business. It's really important to theme your days and to know what's happening, and to almost have a primal prep that you do at the end of your day to get you prepared for the next day, so you know what's happening. And I would just say to the families and the moms who don't have as much time, maybe you have young kids at home or you don't have childcare all the time, I still think that this is doable. It is doable to know in advance, to plan in your calendar. Okay, maybe, for instance, if you're one of our Rainmaker students and you're sourcing your first e-commerce product, I love that Steven talked about this on a Mentorship Monday call with our students. Maybe one of the days, say you have 4 hours in your work week or something. It's maybe 2 hours of the time you're going to spend doing more deep work on innovation and making your product great, running your numbers. And then maybe the next day you are implementing things. You're talking to manufacturers. You're having this back and forth dialogue with your customers, checking in. I think that there are still ways that you can structure your week so that you are being kind to your mind, but you're also allowing yourself those deep work and focus work sessions to happen. Because that shallow work, man, like I lived in that place for so long
Yeah.
and it's
Years.
really
We both did.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And so I think just going into your week, understanding what you need to get done, what are your goals that are actually attainable, have you calendared them out, and then go right into it, have everything ready, be prepared. And of course, like life sometimes happens, your kid gets sick, you don't sleep as well the night before. Of course, like you adapt and you change. But having this schedule in advance, like now I just know like I'm going to be able to get a lot done today. And I
Yeah.
would say this week in particular, like I had a really good week because I've known what I need to get done. I've gotten more done than I thought using these work modalities. So I feel ahead already in the week versus behind like I did
Mhm.
last week.
I'd say too, this isn't poo-pooing on shallow work. You have to
Yeah.
do it. But
Yes.
what I found is I limit it to a certain day or certain
Mm-hmm.
time. And so Monday for me is very much shallow work. I have a couple focused work a little bit in there where I'm doing slightly longer things,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of like I would plan it this way. If you could put in deep work first, if your schedule doesn't allow for deep work, then put in focused work
Mm-hmm.
first. And then in the nooks and crannies, you can do the shallow work. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can limit it to 1 day a week or 2 days a week, like, hey, I only check emails on Mondays and Fridays or Mondays and Thursdays, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you put that in your signature on your email or have an autoresponder, I remember like when we were going to be on Jenna Kutcher's podcast, we emailed her and she's like, hey, in this season, I'm only doing email once a week. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, that's awesome. And then I just like copied her email signature and I was like, I'm doing that
Thanks,
too.
Jenna.
And so now I only look at emails once a week as well. And people love it. It's so funny. Like if you just explain it like, hey, I'm making my family a priority in this season.
Mm-hmm.
For that reason, I'm only doing emails on Fridays. Thank you for understanding this move to more efficiency and effectiveness for my family. Like people are like, wow, like that's amazing. Like they like praise you for like having boundaries, right? So
Mm-hmm.
limit your shallow work, schedule and deep work first, focus work second, and then shallow work will just fill in the cracks. But if you can, like limit the shallow work. Like I know like Monday is kind of reactionary day for me. I'm going to just be in Slack, helping people out, getting people started for the week, answering team questions. Friday is going to be like email day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I have Wednesdays, Fridays for deep work. I have Thursdays for meeting. I have Tuesdays for doing this content creation. Because that's how we've really themed our weeks. That's how we've really themed my days. Chelsey has different days that worked for her, but you'll figure this out over time. It's an iterative process. But if you can limit the shallow work to certain times, you're like, okay, I just know like that's catch up time for Instagram or whatever it is. You can schedule it in and just know what it is. And then you know you're just in that reactionary mode, but then you are also prioritizing those focus work and those deep work sessions where you're really moving the needle in the business.
So, next time you are planning out your work week, I want to encourage you to think about shallow work, focus work, and deep work. And where are those areas being planned throughout your calendar? Again, we're all about being kind to our mind so that we can show up the best for our business and for our family. So, thank you again for listening to another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. If this resonated with you, we always love for you to share it with a friend, post it on social media, tag us. We'd love to see what episodes are resonating with you best. All right, you guys, have an amazing week. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. If you're not a part of our mastermind yet, I want to say I think you're missing out. Our heart here at Rainmaker is to create total abundance for you. That's why we're offering a free one-on-one family freedom design session for you, our faithful listener.
Yeah, if you want to hop on a call with our team, see if it's a good fit to build a business that creates time freedom for you, financial abundance, and helps you leave that thriving family legacy. That's what we're all about in our mastermind. You can grab a time on our team's calendar at rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind. Again, that's rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind.